We're gonna plug in. I'm turning the recording on. All right, guys. So
Yeah.
good morning. Welcome. It's Tuesday morning. We're gonna dive into the bow-legged conspiracies in a little bit later. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen. So if you guys are driving today, just tune in by listening. If you're on your phone today or if you had a computer, I actually want you to read along a little bit. So hopefully you guys have picked up this book in the past. It's called As a Man Thinketh. We're not reading the whole book. We don't got all day for that. However, we are going to go through a page, right? And as we go through this page, I want it to be a little bit more interactive. So please, today, if you have the capability, I do want you unmuting. We're going to be going back and forth. Be a part of the conversation. Don't just be a fly on the wall for this one today. Actually join in and help dissect the reading. We want to make sure it's making sense. And when you provide your perspective, you're actually helping the information get into other people's minds with a lot more clarity and a lot more certainty. So I'm going to start reading through this and we're going to start breaking it down together. After we go through the reading, we're still going to hit our affirmations and we're still going to go through our goals. We're going to speed up the goal setting a little bit today at the end. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to read back to you your 3 goals from yesterday. You're going to let us know yay or nay. Did you either hit all 3 or not? We're not going to dive deeply into why you didn't hit all 3. You're going to tell us what today's goals are and we're going to keep track. So we're actually going to be tracking you and seeing how many people are consistently not hitting, how many people are consistently hitting. That way we can start to figure out what do we need to do for the people who aren't hitting, right? If it's a one-day, one-off situation, not a big deal. But if it's a consistent thing, let's address it. Let's nip that in the butt right away. So on that, we're going to dive into this. And if you are at a computer, I may be asking some of you to actually read through some of this as well. So again, this is from As a Man Thinketh, right? And we're reading this thoughts and purpose because this week's focus is on intention. This week's focus is thinking from backwards, starting with the end in mind. So it says here, until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment. With the majority of the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Aimlessness is a vice, and such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. So real quick, before we even continue, I want to break this down, right in this spot, because he already said a lot, right? So first off, it's important that we understand every word in this, right? He says with the majority, the bark of thought is allowed to drift upon the ocean of life. Does anyone know what barks are? What a bark is?
Tree bark.
Close, that's what I thought. So I actually looked up the word, right? Because I learned this actually from Myron, that you don't read something, and if you don't understand a single word, you actually don't understand what was said, even if you're missing just one word. So a bark is an old school ship. It is like a big cargo ship. So he's saying the majority of the bark, in other words, the majority of your mental ship, if it's allowed to drift upon the ocean of life, that aimlessness is a vice. It's a sin, right? The aimlessness. And by the way, if you guys know what sin isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sin means you're falling short of the goal. That is the definition of sin, right? It came from when people would shoot arrows and they would miss the target. It was a sin because they were falling short of the target. So aimlessness is that vice. Aimlessness means it's like the same as going out and drinking, right? It's an enjoyment that's not serving you. Such drifting must not continue for him who would steer clear of catastrophe and destruction. Does that make sense to everybody? Are you guys following the words here? All right, perfect. So we're going to dive in a little bit deeper. They who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to petty worries, fears, troubles, and self-pitying, all of which lead just as surely as deliberately planned sins thought by a different route to failure, unhappiness, and loss, for weakness cannot persist in a power evolving universe. What was just said there? Anyone want to take a crack at it? And I'll run it back because it was a lot. They who have no central purpose. And I want you guys think and listen carefully. So sometimes when we do reading, sometimes we read the easy stuff, right? We read the mental candy. Right, but we need full nourishment here, right? We can't survive off of just mental candy. We got to use the stuff that gets our brains thinking. So this is our warming up of the mind. This is exercise and lifting some of the heavier weights. They who have no central purpose in their life fall an easy prey to worries, fears, troubles, and self-pitying, all of which lead just as surely as deliberately planned sins to failure, unhappiness, and loss, for weakness cannot persist in a power-evolving universe. Let's break that down. So those who don't, let's hear it, bro.
I believe that it's saying that if your mental strength isn't there, like you can fall sin to the, and I'll put it to what our generation is. You can fall sin to the social media. You can fall sin to the going out, everybody going out, because now your goals is tainted. Your goals aren't aspirational anymore. It's by fiction, because you see everybody making money, and now you just want to make it just because. Like, you don't have a set goal, and your mental strength isn't there to keep you going persistently.
Spot on, man. Right? I like that. Anybody else haven't like what they get from this? Anyone else have a breakdown here?
I see it as, if you don't have a goal and drive, you go easily fall off the track into things like depression, or get sidetracked by other things that'll make you spiral downward. That's what I got out of it.
You're both spot on, right? I mean, they even say it right here, right? Through by a different route. In other words, right, if you don't have a central purpose, right, if you don't have a set destination, right, you're going to start falling short, and you're going to start going on these different routes. You're going to start going down all these different rabbit holes, right? Anyone else have another interpretation of this?
I put it in the chat, but it's basically like, I think his name's Napoleon Hill, talks about having a definiteness of purpose. So if you don't know your purpose or why you're doing what you're doing, then you will be distracted. Like Tevin said, the social media is saying what other people are doing. They make money here. Oh, you want to do that? And then you see somebody has a trucking business. Now you want to do that. It's like you're just chasing the wind, and not really knowing what your focus is. It's just as bad as, like, the failure to plan is planning to fail. That's what I had put in the chat. So that's what I think.
Yo, you're spot on.
One mindset.
Right. And guys, I have a video that I'm going to give you guys later. We're not going to watch it together, but I'm going to give you guys that later to sit down and watch. It's a 7-minute video, so you can watch it on the road. It's a quick little one hitter. But you're right. You're spot on there, Nina. Right. So we have to have that central purpose. Right. So let's keep reading. Let's see what else is said here. A man should conceive of a legitimate purpose in his heart and set out to accomplish it. He should make this purpose the centralizing point of his thoughts. It may take the form of a spiritual ideal, or it may be a worldly object, according to his nature at the time being. But whichever it is, he should steadily focus his thought force upon the object which he has set before him. He should make this purpose his supreme duty. He should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longing, and imaginings. This is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. That one we need to unpack, because right there, a lot was said. And for our ladies, please forgive the fact that this book just keeps referring to a man. Of course, we know that this is for everybody, but this was just the times that the book was written. So, Deborah, you got your hand raised. Want to break it down for us?
I'm sorry. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, or joyful day. So, when I heard you reading that, and it reminded me of like meditating. You have to like calm your mind down and move the distractions and get that practice in to, so you can focus and, tune in what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Focus, learning how to practice, to remove distractions, because they definitely will come.
Right. And you know what? I love what you said, right? You said to remove distraction. And one form of move, right? So everything has an equal and opposite, right? When I pick up one end of the stick, the other side automatically gets lifted as well. Right. So a lot of times we focus on we run into a challenge where we're focusing on like the negative thing, right? We're focused on, how do I, get rid of distraction, right? Well, or it's like, how do I lose the weight? What if the question was, how do I gain more focus? How do I live a healthier life? We're going to we're going to produce the same result. However, it reframes our action. So in this situation, he's telling us we need to concentrate, right? We need to
And
focus some more. Yep. Who's got that?
and it also like, so to the same analogy you just said, right? When you pick up a stick, obviously the other end comes up with it, right? But when you pick up something too heavy, you see it being, you see the bottom being left, right? You see that other end of the stick, which is too heavy, it drops down. And if your mental capacity isn't there to hold up that other end of the stick, then you have to realize, and us as entrepreneurs, this also goes back to intention. This also goes back to us saying no to certain things. We have to understand that if we can't burden or take on what we exceed to, it can be too much for us. And we have to understand that.
I agree with you so much, right? And this is why he even says, right down here, this right here, this idea of focus, this idea of concentration, he says, this is the royal road to self-control and true concentration of thought. Even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must until weakness is overcome, the strength of character gained will be the measure of his true success, and this will form a new starting point for future power and triumph. Like, so let's think about that. Like, that's really like, to Tevin's point, right? Because I'm going to refer this now to like being in the weight room, right? Getting into the gym and actually going to lift weights, right? When we go into the gym, right? If you're brand new and you're trying to curl a 100-pound dumbbell, that 100-pound dumbbell never changes. Like, the weight is what it is, right? And you go to try and move it and you can't move it, right? You go to try and move it and you can't move it. So you start and you try moving something else, right? You stay focused, you stay on the road, you keep that concentration on like, hey, I'm coming back here so I can eventually move that 100-pound dumbbell. And you fail and fail and fail. However, every time you fail, what's actually happening is you're building a little bit of strength. So tomorrow when you come back in, you're not coming back as the same person that showed up yesterday. You've built a little bit of character through this repeated coming back. You're building up yourself, you're building up that strength. So each time you restart, you're actually starting from a new starting point than you did previously, right? So that failure, it's necessary until the weakness is overcame.
That was beautifully said, bro.
And not only that, if your form isn't correct, if your mental form isn't correct, you can get dragged down by that same weight.
Mm-hmm. I love it, man. Right. And he says it right here too, right? Because like essentially your form is your centralizing point of thought, your purpose. Right. So I think this is worth like rereading this little paragraph one more time. Just to
I
let
like Marlon how it says, like, even if he fails again and again to accomplish his purpose, as he necessarily must. Like, it's a given that you probably are not gonna achieve the thing the first time that you take a shot at it, but you gain the experience, you gain knowledge, you learn from that experience, and the next time you go approach that thing, you have more insight. So your starting point is higher, or it is different than when you first started. And so, like, overcoming the weakness, like, you're building endurance, you're building wisdom, you're building, failing forward. So I like that too, because sometimes if you are weak in your mind and you don't succeed the first time, a lot of people give up. Like, well, and then if you give up, then you stay weak essentially, because you're not learning from that experience. And so I think that's dope, that you don't have to get it right the first time, but you do need to learn how to be persistent, because through failure, through challenges, you are growing, even if it doesn't look like that or feel like it.
It gotta work or it gotta work.
It gotta work or it gotta
Exactly.
work. Like, it's spot on, right?
I'm
Got
sorry.
Deborah. Break it down for us, girl.
No, I was just thinking, as you know, we keep hearing what you're saying and keep going over it. What comes to me to mind is alignment. You have to have a alignment and staying focused, and putting all those things that we're saying in order, and and that produces the alignment, and you have to stay with it, or you're gonna get off track.
Mm-hmm. And right, we see that, right? There's an emphasis right here. He should make his purpose his supreme duty, right? This is why, again, we have to start with the end in mind, right? Because that's that alignment you're talking about. Because as we're taking action and action and action, the actions are going to begin to change, but the purpose, right? The end result never changed, right? We never changed the finish line. If your goal was to get inside there and lift that 100-pound dumbbell, the things you might do to go about eventually getting that dumbbell off the ground, yeah, you're going to be doing different exercises, but it always came back to the thought process of, hey, I'm going to go try and lift that dumbbell today, right? Like, I'm King Arthur. I'm going to go try and pull that sword out the rock, right? Like, we never changed the purpose. It is our supreme duty, and should devote himself to its attainment, not allowing his thoughts to wander away into ephemeral fancies, longings, and imaginings. Other beautiful, shiny objects will appear. They will pop up along the road. However, you must be strong in your purpose, and because you made this for yourself. So it sounds like everyone got this one, right? This paragraph here. Does anyone have one more thing they want to say about this before we jump into the next?
Yeah, I do. I think a lot of people, they struggle with the failure part, right? It's like, and that's why we don't have a good amount of entrepreneurs out there, people who want to be their own boss, because after one failure, people just want to give up, and they internalize it as a, dang, I'm not meant for this. But I think having purpose, having intention, being conscious, regardless of how you felt, having that end goal in mind, you're still able to persevere and move forward. And even like personally for me, I always have an end goal in mind. So even if things aren't going my way, I'm always like, okay, I just need to detour, right? It doesn't mean I have to give up. It just means I need to take a different path now. This is not working. Like I always look at it as like, what is the universe teaching me? If I'm going through something repeatedly, like, what is this teaching me? And I always tell people, things are going to keep showing up in your life until you learn that lesson. And it's just the universe's way of helping you and building that perseverance.
Absolutely, love. You're spot on, right? And guys, keep in mind, this rule here, this principle, right? This law of the universe does not care if you know it. It doesn't care if you like it. It doesn't care if you understand it. Just like gravity. You could have no awareness of gravity. It still does not stop working on you. It works on you regardless. So it's much better to understand how it works so that you can work with it. So let's keep reading here. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix their thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. Who knows what that's saying? I'll read it one more time. I know some of you guys are driving and you can't read this. Those who are not prepared for the apprehension of a great purpose should fix their thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear. Only in this way can the thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution and energy be developed, with which being done, there is nothing which may not be accomplished. Charlene, you got it.
Oh, my hand slipped, but good morning, guys.
Good morning. Good morning.
So this is the purpose of the group. You know, if you got to fix your
Exactly.
thoughts, come on down. But my thoughts prior to that was I work with visuals, right? So when you talk about the bark and sin, which is missing the mark, I see like a ship with plugged in coordinates. And that's if you're lucky to actually know your purpose, right? Because there are people who spend a lifetime not knowing what their purpose is. And that's a whole other conversation. But if you do know what your purpose is and you plug those coordinates in, don't let external circumstances, because it will come, right? Life is not perfect. Uh, that focus to get to the end, or to not miss the mark, that's where the work is. And you need to have either very strong will already, or develop that strong will to get to the end game. Because man, the grave is full of people that passed without accomplishing that thing. So this here is amazing to help us increase our probability to get to that end point. That's pretty much what was my thought process is at this point.
Yeah, it's this group. This group is what is it's basically what that last pastor said is this group. Because if we don't put into to action our words, and if we don't strengthen our minds so that we can carry on the days, so that we can carry on our goals, would it be nothing? To be honest, we wouldn't even be this far if we didn't have the mental capacity to keep going. Because I guarantee you, all of us failed at some point, but we kept pushing. Something happened to us detrimental that made us want to keep pushing. And it's only but a select few of us that can do so.
I took it as, oh, is someone gonna go?
Go ahead.
I took that passage as like consistency, right? Where there are times in our prospective businesses where those little tasks we may not want to do, but that all ties into the bigger picture, that end goal. So regardless of how insignificant a task may appear, it's still needed in regards to the overall picture of what you want to accomplish.
Yeah, I'm with Love. Additionally, some of the sentence structure is already telling you it's going to happen. So the apprehension of a great purpose, as in there's going to be rough waters, since this is a ship, are, and so if you know what your true North Star is, you'll be better prepared. And so it's important for you to accomplish both tasks, big and small, if they're all on the road to what you're trying to accomplish.
And Deborah, you got your hands up.
I'm just trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Yes, I agree. To me, when I heard that, it's saying that, no matter what type of step, your small steps, tiny steps, no matter what type of steps that you're trying to take to reach your goal, just take them. Take them. Because if you don't, nothing's going to work. You have to do something.
Information changes situations, but only with applications.
Mm-hmm. So,
and
guys,
I was going to say, my
Yep.
bad, go ahead.
Oh, you got it.
No, I was going to say that it was basically saying that you're going to encounter problems. It says it must happen. So by preparing yourself for the ups and downs, you're going to be able to move forward. If you have that goal in your mind, if you're strong in your goal and as to what you want to do, then the ups and downs won't hinder you as much. You'll still be able to move forward. but only with preparation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry, Marlon.
No, you got it. What's her name?
Yeah, the word that jumps out to me is like apprehension. If you're not prepared for the resistance, then you could just get knocked off your path so easily by the unexpected things. Like I think just having that awareness that it's gonna take effort or work, or it might be hard, or things might not go as planned when you are trying to accomplish your goals. Like who was that just spoke? Was it Sean? I can't see. I'm on my phone, so I can't see. But like she just said before, you like you have to it won't knock you off balance as much, because you'll be like, okay, well, I knew that this rehab project could have had this downturn, so now what do I do next? How am I going to respond? Instead of just being totally hit at a left field and being stunned and not knowing how to move from there. And so the awareness, I think, is part of the preparation for the resistance that you will experience on your road to whatever your main goal is.
Yo, spot on. Like each and every one of you, I mean, you guys are all absolutely right. Right. And if we look here, the word apprehension too is an interesting word to use, because apprehension has two meanings, right? One of which could be anxiety and fear that something bad or unpleasant will happen. And another definition of it is understanding or grasp, right? So if we read it with the second definition, those who are not prepared for the understanding or the grasping of a great purpose should fix their thoughts upon the faultless performance of their duty, no matter how insignificant their task may appear, right? In other words, fixing your thoughts on how can I do whatever it is I'm doing at the best of my capabilities. And, it's funny, we spoke about this last week with, some of our 9-to-5ers who are still at the place where they're mentally deliberating, hey, this 9-to-5 is not doing anything for me. Well, here was being shown, it's providing you an opportunity to fix your thoughts on the faultless performance of your duty, no matter how insignificant the task may appear. Only in this way can thoughts be gathered and focused, and resolution of energy be developed, which being done, there's nothing which cannot be accomplished. In other words, you each day at your 9-to-5 have an opportunity through this being given a duty to not work on your job per se, but to work on yourself, right? It's just a vehicle. Your job is just a vehicle for you to work on yourself. It's an opportunity there. If you're not sure what your purpose is yet, if you're still at the place, right? If you are not prepared yet for the apprehension of a great purpose, right? If you don't have that, sometimes we're like, hey, I don't know what my purpose is yet. Okay, not a big deal. You can still prepare your body for the battle. You may not know what battle you're running into yet, but you can still train for that battle that's going to come eventually. Right? So that was the interpretation I took from there as I broke this down and read through it. So let's keep going. We have a little bit more to go. So we're going to pick up speed a little bit here. But I mean, so far, how do you guys like this? I know it's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. I know we're taking a little bit more time on the front end, but I think it's a little bit better when we're able to break it down and hear from everybody the different perspectives. What do you guys think so far?
I enjoyed it.
Good.
I love it. Love it.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, cool. So we'll keep going here. So in the next part, we see the weakest soul knowing its own weakness and believing this truth, that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will at once begin to exert itself, and adding effort to effort, patience to patience, and strength to strength, will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong. Right? What do we get there? Right? Like, that's a pretty interesting sentence. I'll read it one more time again for my people in the back. The weakest soul knowing its own weakness and believing this truth, that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, will at once begin to exert itself, and adding effort to effort, patience to patience, strength to strength, will never cease to develop and will at last grow divinely strong.
That's the awareness, Marlon. Like knowing its own weakness. So it kind of, I think to me, it relates to the previous paragraph, like the understanding of what it takes to accomplish a great goal. If you know that and you still believe like in your definiteness of purpose, then there's nothing that you can't do or that you cannot accomplish. You are going to be strong because you know how to like overcome or be persistent in your thing. And so your soul, that weak soul won't be weak forever, because you will once
Go lay
again,
down. Angel,
you'll once begin to exert yourself.
go lay down.
That's the persistence, right? And so I think that having the awareness, but knowing your purpose and sticking with it, is going to make you divinely strong to do whatever it is that you want to do forever.
Yo, you're spot on. We got one more person that has an interpretation on this one. Yo, because you're spot on.
Yeah, I mean, just having that self-awareness to be able to tell yourself, look in the mirror and say, I'm the bottleneck, or I have this lack of knowledge. There's a lot of times where it's so easy to lie to yourself, or, they call it, it's a little bit vulgar, but they call it like emotional ejaculation, like where you like tell yourself you're doing certain things, but you're just saying that in order for you to make yourself feel good and not take action. So I think this paragraph is so important in that way, just having that awareness of self. I think that's something that a lot of millionaires have in common too. They're able to see themselves for who they are and what they are, and also having the discipline to follow through and execute on, putting the effort where it most needs it. I think that sentence is super powerful in that way.
Right. Absolutely. And guys, right, I'm just going to highlight this and we're going to move on from it, right? Believing this truth, right? It says, by believing this truth, and the truth being that strength can only be developed by effort and practice, right? It falls right back to what Maurice said, a little earlier, as far as like the affirmations needing action, right? Guys, strength can only be developed by effort, right? And we all know what effort means, right? Effort means you're going to be faced with resistance. If something's easy, it doesn't take effort, right? So you're going to have to go through things that aren't easy and practice, right? That's how it grows. And when we believe something, right? If I believe that the air is good to breathe, what am I going to do? If I believe the food tastes good and it's there for me to eat, what am I going to do? I'm going to take action upon doing the thing. I'm going to go eat the food, right? My beliefs are going to determine my actions. So let that be known, right? Like beliefs and actions are coupled together, right? If I believe in something, it's going to determine my actions. Like you can't unmarry, you can't uncouple the two. So let's keep going here. As the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thought can make himself strong by exercising himself in right thinking, which is what we're doing here this morning. To put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who only recognize failure as one of the pathways to attainment, who make all conditions serve them, and who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully, right? And that one I think resonates with a lot of us, right? To put away aimlessness and weakness and to begin to think with purpose is to enter the ranks of those strong ones who recognize failure. Failure, all it is one of the pathways to attainment, who will make all conditions serve them, who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and accomplish masterfully. Let me hear one person's feedback on this.
Yeah, I'll speak on it real quick. So I can't help but compare everything that I'm reading and hearing to the gym. So sometimes you might get in there, whether your goal is to lose weight or to achieve a certain physical appearance. Throughout the weeks, you might think like, I don't know if I could lose 100 pounds, or I don't know if I could put up 315 pounds on the bench press. But if you have that discipline and you make it a habit to get in the gym 3 to 4 times a week, wake up early in the morning, eat right, sleep right,
and you have that end purpose in mind, you'll continue to get closer to your goal at least. So at least by the middle of the year, you have the end goal in mind, right? So to lose 100 pounds or to lift the heaviest weight, whatever your goal is, you have that end purpose in mind. So even when you feel like I don't know if I could do this week, you already know what the end goal is, right? You're trying to get to the touchdown. So just little by little, it's almost like being on a football field, right? You try to get the first down. You're not gonna always go for the long run and try to throw it into the end zone. But week by week, if you just keep chopping it down, by the end of the year, you realize you'll get closer to your end goal. So that's my take on that.
Yo, spot on, man. Like, I love it. Right. So let's recognize that, right? It all comes back to that same thing we started this week off. Keep the end in mind, right? And guys, right here, he says it for you, right? Recognize failure as one pathway to this attainment and make all your conditions serve you. All of them. That means your 9 to 5 that you believe you're not in love with. Cool. Let it serve you anyway. Right? The people in your world that maybe aren't thinking on this level, great. Let them serve you as a piece of resistance for you to work out with. That's it. They're just a weight for you to practice lifting while they exist, while they're there in your environment for the time being. Let them serve you, or let them serve you by giving you practice on learning how to cut out the negative. Let every opportunity be a way of serving you and serving your purpose. Right? That's how you get to that level of mastery, what they refer to as the ranks of the strong ones. So let's see, Maurice, where are we at a time? We're at 5:40. So I'll let you guys choose, actually. We have a little bit here. This is all that we have left right here. So about 4 more paragraphs or 4 more sentences. Do we want to blow through these and get through them? Or do we want to stop, get into our affirmations and start hitting some of our goals, and we can leave this for a later date? I'll let you guys vote. But don't all vote at once now.
Let's get it done.
Let's get it done. Ingrid, see, that's what happens when you stand up, your options get chosen. All right, so having conceived of his purpose, a man should mentally mark out a straight pathway to its achievement, looking neither to the right nor to the left. Doubts and fears should be rigorously excluded. They are disintegrating elements which break up the straight line of effort, rendering it crooked, ineffectual, useless. Thoughts of doubt and fear never accomplish anything and never can. They always lead to failure. Purpose, energy, power to do, and all strong thoughts cease when doubt and fear creep in. Wow. What do we got there, yo? Somebody break it down for me.
I'm still reading.
No, you can go ahead. Whoever said that.
You got it, Ingrid.
Yeah. I'm still reading Think and Grow Rich, and I'm almost done. And one of the things that they talked about on there is that you can't have fear and hopefulness thoughts all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just focus on your purpose, and I don't want to say just think positive, but think more narrowly to where you're trying to head, then you can't actually think in fear and in the negative way, because both things can't be thought at the same time.
Ingrid, you're spot on. Chris, what you got, brother?
Just to say something to what Ingrid just said, if I can remember, like, she said, like, it's not like being positive all the time, but I think it's like once you set out on that journey and you have like unwithering, faith, like it's realizing that those moments are going to come up and just knowing that beforehand. And then in those moments of like, your faith is being tested, or, everything's just not going your way, you say to yourself, I already planned on this happening, and ultimately I'm not going to let it affect how I really feel, and I'm just going to, like, this is part of the game. But like at the same time, you just got to figure out how to minimize that downtime. You know what I'm saying? You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I mean, and that's the thing. Is it even, I agree with you, right? We don't we don't stay down, right? We get knocked down, and that's a part of the situation. You don't stay down, right? You learn the lesson that you're meant to learn. You get up and you reapply, you retry, right? You try from a new vantage point. You've moved forward. You keep working out and you leverage that situation because it's building momentum, right? It's like working out at the gym. Again, like bringing it back to the gyms always, because it's such an easy reference model for most people, right? If you want to get the results, it's going to come with the consistency as well. You can't work out once a month and expect to gain the same level of consistency as the person that's showing up once a day. It just won't happen. The compound effect will, you won't be able to build on momentum. You'll always be restarting from 0 versus that person that's showing up every day. They're restarting from 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. There's little small incremental ticks forward, whereas the other person is showing always back at the same 0 starting point. So agreed with you there.
That's a great analogy.
Oh, awesome. Appreciate it. And so check this out, right? I love this because this is one of my favorite things. Guys, Maurice, I think you're the one that said this yesterday. You can't look left and right at the same time. Like try it. Try to look left and right at the exact same time. You can't do it unless you got some crazy cross-eyed situation going on in which low key, like let's do a TikTok video together. That's funny. But you can't. You just, if I'm looking left, I'm looking left. If I'm looking right, I'm looking right. Some of you know my background of being a parkour athlete. Here's what really a lot of people would look at when I would like do rooftop to rooftop situations or like flip off of buildings and things of that nature. Like, yo, you're a madman, you're crazy, you're this, you're that. What they didn't know what was going on in my mind, I wouldn't do those things until I had absolute clarity, right? Like if I was up there and my brain was also envisioning me falling and breaking my leg or me seeing like the opposite of the result I was trying to produce, I would not do it. I would walk away that day. I didn't take action ever if there were two contradicting thoughts happening in my mind as far as what the outcome was going to be. But when the result in my mind was clear, when the outcome was, I'm going to make it over there, I'm going to land, I would then take action. And that's what allowed me to get through it. So the same thing works across the board for everything. Think back, you've already had these moments in your life where you've had those clarities, those moments of clarity, right? Where you weren't even possibly considering what may go wrong, right? It didn't even occur to you that something, you weren't even intelligent enough to think about the downside. You were just like, no, like I'm going to win. It's going to win. It's going to happen, or it's going to happen, right? So we want to make sure we stay focused on that. So I feel like one more person is going to want to have something to say on that, because that one's a fun paragraph right there. All right, cool. So we're going to move on to this next one right here. So the will to do springs from the knowledge that we can do. Doubt and fear are great enemies of knowledge, and he who encourages them, who does not slay them, thwarts himself at every step. So that falls in line with what we just spoke about. He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purpose are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit which does not fall prematurely on the ground. Somebody want to dive into that one real quick? Right? He who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. His every thought is allied with power. So all of his thoughts are allied with power, and all difficulties are bravely met and wisely overcome. His purpose are seasonably planted, and they bloom and bring forth fruit which does not fall prematurely to the ground. Chris, what you got, bro?
I feel like that first chunk goes back with like the second paragraph back, like the straight line, and you can't look left and right. It's like I'm driving, so but I understood it when I first read it. But it's like he who has conquered doubt and fear has conquered failure. Like that's almost all it is overcoming the doubt and the fear, because those are the two components that are in like keeping you away from getting what you want and acting. You know what I'm saying? And then like his thoughts are allied with power. I know with me, like I've had a lot of people say things to me. Oh, why did you work at a startup company? Why are you making little money? Why are you wholesaling? Like you can't flip houses without having money. You need to have a down payment, good credit, all this bullshit. Sorry for the language, but you know, I feel so strong in those moments because my purpose is so strong, and I know it's not about me. It's about a lot of people in this world I'm about to affect. But it's like his thoughts are allied with power. Like you just have to be strong in those moments. That's kind of what I took away from it. It was really on my mind.
Spot on, man. And I'm going to ask this question before I let Ingrid go. How many of you have ever felt like you're not quite sure what the timing is, right? Like, yo, when do I start? When's it going to work? When's like, is this the right time to do this? Is this the right time for the next step? Like, I just don't know what the timing is, right? Ingrid, what you got?
Well, what I was going to mention is I also read Outwitting the Devil.
Hell
And
yeah.
so the way that I've reframed some of the things that I've gone through is that this is just the devil testing me to see whether or not I'm really set on my purpose. And so I often don't see it as, I try not to bathe in the negativeness that and the challenges that some of the things that come at me. It's more of like, okay, this is the devil trying to get at me at like, how much do I actually want this? And will I be able to use my brain to get around it creatively, however that is. So just a call out, because once you reframe what things are coming at you, then you don't indulge in self-pity. It's more about outside forces working, and will you be able to rearrange around it, yes or no?
Right. Yo, you're spot on. And I'm going to add this, guys. If you've never, because what Ingrid just described, right, it's about listening to your heart, right? Listening to your inner wisdom, listening to what your true desires are. And then, yeah, you're going to get tested, right? Your distractions are going to come, opportunities are going to come, right? I know Rashida, actually, I remember you spoke about this maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, where you were saying like, as you started to gain more success, different people started reaching out to you, and like, you're almost like trying to say yes to everyone and everything, but it's starting to pull you off of the clear path you set for yourself, right? You're going to be tested, but you've got to learn to take that moment of silence, take that time to listen to your heart, to listen to your purpose, right? And this is why it's so important that it be your purpose, not anyone else's purpose. It's got to be the purpose that when you're sitting on the mountaintop by yourself, deciding what you want without any shame, without anyone judging you, what do you want? Right? It's cool. Like you're here for yourself. You're here for your life. Live it. And what I love, right? The reason I asked about the timing, guys, is because again, it's a formula right here. You're getting an equation, right? He's telling you, he who's conquered doubt and fear, right? So you've conquered failure, right? You're no longer afraid. You're only focused. You are like the dumb little kid that doesn't know that they can mess up. Like you're that brave little kid that just like sprints across the railings because you can't even possibly fathom that you can get hurt, right? Now, when you go to take your actions, they're planted at a seasonable time. You actually create your season for yourself, right? That's why everyone's season comes at a different time. You see, it's not a timing out there. It is not, you got to do this because it's November, it's right before the holidays, before it's Christmas. No, forget that clock. That's everyone else's clock. You have your own clock. You have your own season, right? However, in order for you to get in tune with that, you've got to first take care of what's going on inside of you, right? We said it before. This is an inside out game, right? The opportunities are going to start flowing. I mean, everyone here, I've spoken to about everyone here, like in private, most of you guys, and we've all been saying like, yo, the last 2 weeks since we started doing our affirmations, everyone's been having little moments of experiences like, yo, this happened to me. Yo, this happened to me. Yo, this happened to me. Yeah, because you're starting to get in your season. You're starting to change on the inside. So that's going to keep happening. That's in fact, that's going to happen more and more on larger and larger scales where you're going to be like, yo, I don't even question it. It's going to get easier to believe because you're starting with the little ones first, and you're starting to notice where the changes are coming little by little. So let's get this last paragraph in here. So we got right here, thought allied fearlessly to purpose becomes creative force. He who knows this is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. Right? So that one, that breaks down, right? Thoughts allied fearlessly to purpose become creative force, right? We need that creative force that works in our favor. He who knows this and is ready to become something higher and stronger than a mere bundle of wavering thoughts and fluctuating sensations, right? Just letting any distraction take our attention, right? Your attention, guys, that's the most important thing. That's what they're trying to take. That's what everybody in this world is trying to capture from you. That's what you need to be in control of. You control where your attention goes. Your body might physically be in the room, but no other man, no other person, no other being on this planet, no one has control of where your attention goes except you. He who does this has become the conscious and intelligent wielder of his mental powers. So, guys, that is a passage from As a Man Thinketh. I know it's a little bit of a different one today. I know we came down this route, but you guys tell me, how did you like this? I don't think this is going to be something we do every single day. However, every now and then, this is something like what we can incorporate this sort of reading. So let's get a quick feedback before we jump into our affirmations.
Exceptional.
Damn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Maurice, you heard that, bro? We did exceptional.
So excited.
I accept and receive that. I learned that
It
from
was definitely very eye-opening on how important it is to get other people's perspectives, because I interpreted one way, and then seeing everybody else's beautiful minds is like, it's so dope. I love the group in here, you know.
It's one of the most powerful things, right? It's the mastermind effect. This is, again, like when we did book club, or when I had a book club running, this is what it looked like, right? So yeah, we're not ripping through books, at breakneck speed. However, because I learned the exact same thing, Chris, I had the exact same, I thought, I was like, I know this, I know all this. And then hearing someone else's perspective, I'm like, damn, that is genius. I never would have even considered that. Like it was so out of my frame of reference. I would have never seen that. This is the importance of coming together with the right kind of people and creating that environment. So heck yeah, man, I appreciate hearing you say that, seeing that you were able to pick that up for yourself. So guys, let's get into some of these morning affirmations. Now let me stop